the shipyard is at the end of a very narrow channel, so it's a little bit tricky to go there.
We were working.
Really?
Yeah, we're that way.
A little bit green underwater, but
Now the goal is to put it back into the water as soon as possible.
Hello, it's so good to see you again. I'm Barbara, and together with my husband Daniel, I restored a historic sailing ship, Flying Coney. Finally, the time has come to haul out Flying Coney. As you all know, a few weeks back we discovered a leaking spot in the engine room. We observed the spot for several days and came to the conclusion that it wouldn't sink the ship, especially since it eventually stopped dripping completely. But we think it would be a good idea to bring Flying Coney to our favorite shipyard on Earth. First of all, because of this spot, and second, because we've plans to haul out Flying Coney this year anyway. So why not now? Especially since this haul out is really important for the future of this refit project.
it's our frame. I know.
Good enough.
Good. So was this the last weld? Yes. Yes. Let's say it was the last weld. Happy?
Yes.
Because we were on the hard for almost 3 months, after the last shipyard time 2 years ago, we were extremely tired and very exhausted. And we had to deal with the fact that an already very large and extensive sailing boat conversion or sailing ship conversion turned into an even larger sailing ship refit rebuild project. But there was one thing we never questioned, and that was the extremely high craftsmanship of the lads on the shipyard on Earth. So they worked extremely fast and hard and to a reasonable rate to fix the huge corrosion damage we found when we hauled out the boat the last time. And one thing that is really special on this yard is that they do work on riveted ships almost every day. There are some of the working boats they work on that are older than 100 years, sometimes even 120 years. So they have a lot of experience when it comes to how to weld old steel, how to weld unriveted ships and how to not damage them, which is very difficult. So for us it was completely clear that when we haul out our boat the next time, we will come back to this shipyard. But there are two downsides. The first one is that the shipyard is in the middle of a town, so we can't sandblast because all the people in the town would complain if there's rust and dust flying everywhere. And the second one is that the shipyard is at the end of a very narrow channel, so it's a little bit tricky to go there.
So after the corrosion damage was fixed, we did our best to avoid further damage in the future. We removed the entire electric system since none of it was up to code and measured for any stray current. So in theory everything should be fine, but you never know until you haul out the boat. So this haul out really determines the future of this refit project. Because if we find a similar damage like the last time, I'm not sure if we can continue. So let's keep our fingers crossed that we did enough to stop the electric corrosion from destroying Flying Coney. Refitting an 82 feet steel boat always comes with many ups and downs, and especially the first shipyard time was really tough. Each time we thought we were done, we found another problem that needed to be fixed. Instead of 2 weeks, we spent almost 3 months on the hard. Recovering from all the setbacks and continuing with the project wasn't easy. Luckily, there is a platform called BetterHelp, which is the paid partner of this video. BetterHelp connects you with a licensed therapist who is trained to listen and give helpful and unbiased advice. First, you go to their site. You can use my link betterhelp.com/flyingconey. You answer a few questions and BetterHelp will match you within a few days to a professional therapist. Talking to a therapist really helped me to get a different view on this project. Of course, I'm still not happy about the damage we found, but it also has its ups. Since we had to report everything, we really know the ship inside out and we can start from a clean slate. So if you think it can help you too, then head over to betterhelp.com/flyingconey or select Sailing Flying Coney at sign up to get 10% off your first month of therapy.
Flying Coney is a sea ship and she truly thrives on the open water. She handles wind and waves with ease, proving to be a reliable and seaworthy vessel, even in challenging weather. So it takes some convincing and a calm day to get us through the narrow channel to our favorite shipyard. That's why we arrived a few days early to wait for the perfect day to bring Flying Coney in. And today's that day. Before we enter the channel, the most crucial step is ensuring that Flying Coney is perfectly aligned with it, with no turning motion left at all. After some careful maneuvering, we finally got her set and ready to go. With the tricky part behind us, my focus now shifts to keeping Flying Coney steady along the channel. And of course avoid all those very expensive fenders that were aligned so kindly alongside this channel where almost never a big ship has to pass through. And of course, on the tightest part, they put the widest chips, and not just one, no, they were kind enough to put a fender on each side of the channel. With so many fenders already in place, we thought it would be overkill to use our own. But seriously, when it gets tight, I prefer to have no fenders in at all. They make the boat even wider, and if one gets caught, it could cause the boat to swing. A recipe for disaster. So I had Andreas on the foredeck and Barbara on the aft deck, each armed with a fender, just in case. But everything went smoothly. Flying Coney behaved beautifully, and we made it to the shipyard without leaving a mark on any of the other yachts.
As always, Daniel did a great job bringing Flying Coney to the shipyard through this very narrow channel, so the most difficult bit is done. But the most worrying part is still ahead of us. We have to haul out Flying Coney to figure out in which condition the hull actually is. And I really hope we don't find another big damage this time.
Finally, the big day had arrived. It was time to haul out Flying Coney. The shipyard crew had already prepared our sled, and after a few final instructions, we were ready to go. We needed the crane for some upcoming tasks, so we had to navigate to the slippery right next to it. This spot is the trickiest in the harbor, tucked into a corner with fishing vessels often moored alongside. Maneuvering a 120-ton ship in such tight quarters isn't easy, especially without a bow thruster. To help swing the bow around, we relied on our mooring lines. To be precise, a contralateral stern line. I'm still impressed how easy it is to maneuver our vessel this way. The swing went perfectly, but I do feel for Andreas, who had to pull in our longest mooring line afterwards. Well, he offered to come back, so it can't have been too bad. Next, we positioned ourselves alongside the green fishing vessel. With all our fenders ready, I carefully maneuvered Flying Coney into the ideal spot for the sled, using gentle movements and the prop walk. Preparation is key, and getting Flying Coney onto the sled went off without a hitch.
Not moving anymore?
No moving.
Great.
Let's go.
Yeah, more experience. We do have more experience now. Was more tricky.
Yeah.
Now the nervous part starts. How good is the condition of the boat?
A little bit green underwater, but better than the last time.
Let's hope.
One crucial detail is ensuring the boat sits level before the haul-out. Even slight imbalances, like a bit more water in the starboard tank or less diesel in the port tank, can lead to issues. We did our best to level her out using our weight and the boom.
We're okay.
Really?
Yeah, we're that way.
Can't you see that?
After some adjustments, the shipyard team was satisfied and agreed to pull us out.
I think getting on the cart was fairly good. I'm quite proud that it went that smooth because it was a really tight fit in between the fishing vessel and us.
With Flying Coney safely on the Hart, let's talk about our to-do list for this shipyard time. Of course, the main task is to check the condition of the hull and make sure that everything is up to code. So Jürgen, our surveyor, will visit us again and make sure that Flying Coney is in good condition. We will exchange the coolant of the main engine. Because Flying Coney has a keel cooling, that is only possible while we are on the Hart. And while talking about engines, we will also remove the old generator to get better access to the hull in the engine room, since we actually have 2 generators, we've always planned to remove the old improvised one. Before Flying Coney is ready to go back into the water, she gets a new anti-fouling. And we want to lower the waterline a little bit. Since we have removed basically everything from the hull, she sits a noticeable bit higher in the water than after the last shipyard's time. So the waterline is way too high at the moment. We have one more task on our to-do list, which I don't want to spoil quite now. All I'm going to say is that this task is the reason why we had to take the slipway right next to the crane. And with that out of the way, let's have a look at the hull and see in what condition the underwater part is after 2 years in the water.
And now I do want to have a look at the vessel and the boat, and from what I can see here, does not look too bad. So first impression is there is not much growth. It's a little bit green, but not too much. The waterline is quite visible, so it will be possible to mark it and to get a nice even waterline this time. Surprisingly, the anodes, they're a little bit overgrown, so my guess is that they hadn't had too much to work. So I do think it's a good sign. I don't see any signs of corrosion, but let's wait until we have pressure washed the boat. And she is a really beautiful ship on the dry. So now the goal is to put her back into the water as soon as possible. That's the repair here from last time. Hold it up quite nicely. Nicely done.
From what we've seen so far, everything looks pretty good, and we are almost sure that we won't find any damage after the pressure washing. And that is really good. That means for the next weeks we can focus on our to-do list and to bring Flying Coney back into the water as soon as possible, because each day on the hard is really expensive. So we are very grateful for the generous support of our lovely Patreons. And if you've enjoyed this video, you might want to give us a tip for 20 minutes of entertainment. You can do so with super thanks on Patreon or on PayPal. That way we can keep making these videos. And if you don't want to miss the next part of the Shipyard series, then make sure to subscribe and hit the bell so YouTube notifies you as soon as the new video is live. And that's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for watching and see you next time.